Hi, gorgeous. Starry eyes and toxic lies. And this is Melissa Dean, who lives in Cleveland.
That's correct, I do.
And you're an attorney.
Yes.
You actually went to, you're a great-looking lady.
Thank you.
Why would a woman like you have to resort to cyberspace to find a date?
In my mid-30s, I had a lot of stuff going for me. I was practicing attorney. I worked for juvenile court at that point. But I was very dissatisfied at that point in my life with a lot of the one-on-one interaction that I had experienced in the dating scene. And
Where did you go to find dates? Where did you find the people you were dating at that time? Did you go to bars? Were you at clubs? Were you working people at work? What were you doing?
I had a couple of interests in the local area, one of which was in the workplace, which I stayed away from somewhat for obvious reasons, and a couple of other friends, but nothing was working out. And I perceived online dating to be one of those things that was cool because I thought, people can handpick mates from potential profiles, all the cards laid out on the table, but the joke was on me because what I didn't understand, that same security of the computer screen that lets timid people date and interact is also the same computer screen that gave the security for my ex and other con artists to claim that they're something that they're not.
But now, I just want to get clear. Prior to going to the online dating, I think what John was, did you go out to nightclubs? Did you go to, did you join, I don't know, go to class? What did you do to... Or was online dating the next?
Nothing, right?
Yeah, I wasn't really a big nightclub and bar person. I chose people from my circle, family, friends, recommendations.
Okay.
See, what I find interesting is you went to the internet dating because you could find a lot about them and all that. You are a lawyer. You know people lie, for God's sake. That's part of your profession. You didn't think that maybe the people's profiles were made up or lies or phony or weren't what they pretended to be?
I wouldn't say that I come from the Garden of Eden, but I grew up in a household where my parents are the kind of people that met each other. Within a month, my dad asked her to elope, and they're retired, and they are still walking around the grocery store holding hands.
You knew that wasn't the norm.
Yes, that's correct. I knew it wasn't the norm, but what that told me was that things could happen quickly in a fair amount of time, and it worked out.
On the internet, they didn't get together that way. They did it in kind of the norm, because it didn't exist in those days. You couldn't do it that way.
I would think working in law enforcement, you would know. Heck, you know that half the people on the internet are policemen pretending to be 14-year-old girls. So you would know. You would have to know that people lie on the internet about. I'm from Nigeria, and I have $50 million I want to give you.
Deposit into my account.
He wasn't from Nigeria, right? He was okay. He was from Cleveland. Was that right?
Stark County.
Stark County.
That's correct.
Name was Jack Cass. Is that his real name?
No, it's not.
So the guy's name was Jack Cass. It says here.
Come on, say the name. Think about what it is.
Cass. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the word, and I didn't even think about jackass. Okay, the guy was a jackass, a would-be Navy SEAL, and the tale kind of unfolds. You meet him, you go to Vegas, and you get married. After how long?
We dated 6 months, which is 6 times longer than my parents dated.
Okay.
So we had some significant one-on-one interaction after we had our initial lunch date. But the problem was, and there are things that I could not have possibly known at the time, even had I done some background checking. The only thing I think I could have found through a background check was the fact that he had an extra marriage that he had not told me about. Turns out I was wife number 3, not wife number 2, among other things.
All right.
And yes, there was the phony military background.
He never was going to be a Navy SEAL.
No, never was, never will be. And the closest he got to serving in the military was watching Black Hawk Down.
Okay.
What did he say on his, on his online profile?
That's close enough.
And, the name of the book is Hi, Gorgeous. It's by Melissa Dean. What did he say? What was his online profile like that attracted you to him?
It was a very assertive profile, and I think the come on of Hi Gorgeous, kind of corny and provocative to a lot of people.
Is that what he said to you?
As a matter of fact, the 2 words Hi Gorgeous are symbolic of the first email he ever sent to me.
Okay.
And I thought it was a corny subject line, but once I read the email, and it seemed very level-headed, he had similar interests, it snowballed from there. And once we got married, I became privy to some of the deception involving his financial condition. We started getting mailings from the IRS. It became apparent that he was behind on several key bills, including the mortgage.
Where was your first date?
It was not too far away. The Winking Lizard on Rockside Road.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Well. And it says here that he abused you.
That is correct. Let
me read this, though. Let me read the rest of it. It says, during the course of this relationship, he abused you emotionally, physically, verbally, sexually, and financially. I think that's pretty much a grand slam.
Yes, it is. I have to say, I have to qualify that just a bit to say it was more emotional and sexual in nature rather than physical. There were at least two occasions that I recall where he shoved me, but the bulk of that was more emotional and sexual.
Did your family, were they on board or right away, or were they saying, hey, this doesn't sound right to us, you better take it slow, or what?
My mom had some misgivings, and she had what we would call a bad vibe from him at our initial meeting when all four of us met for dinner. She was in the same position that I think a lot of folks are with their loved ones, family, and friends about what to do in a situation where you think your loved one is hooked up with somebody that's no good. Mm-hmm. She did not want to alienate me and agreed to come with us when we invited them to come out to Vegas with us for our marriage ceremony. Mm-hmm. And she stayed quiet, and her approach was to let her daughter learn her own mistakes and not to alienate me. And I have to say, may not sound right to some, but that approach actually allowed our relationship to strengthen, because when the serious crap started to hit the fan, she was my confidant. Yeah. She was my confidant.
You, Melissa Dean, the book is called Hi, Gorgeous. How do you say it?
Hi, Gorgeous.
It's a little creepy when John says it, isn't it?
All right, fine. So this guy, are you married now?
No, sir, I'm not. I'm engaged.
Yeah, but bring on.
Yes, as a matter of fact.
Now, where'd you meet this guy?
Winking lizard.
This is actually a totally different dynamic. I've known the gentleman for approximately 13 years as platonic friends, and then we started dating last year.
What made that change from platonic to, hey, gorgeous?
When I moved back into the Cleveland area following my split from my former husband, I started to reach out to a few friends that I remembered back from here, and he was one of my old friends.
Good.
And we just started hanging out as buddies, going to Indians games and things like that.
Now you're engaged.
Went from there.
I wish you well.
You didn't think anything of him before then?
Pardon?
You didn't think anything of him before then? How do you go from being platonic friends for 12 years?
were you secretly kind of thinking he might be interesting, but he didn't show any interest, or what?
For 12 years, you didn't think anything?
Yes, that's exactly the case, John.
Okay, fine. When you were married to this jackass, he you know what, there were things in here like he made you become a bikini model for him?
Well, here's how that whole thing started, and one of the things I try to get across in some of the public education that I do is that these are things that start on a slow process. When we initially married, it began with a lot of flattery and compliments rather than name calling, and things like calling me the C word did not happen until very late in our marriage.
Oh, really? Cute?
When we became I'd like to say, no.
That wasn't the C word. Okay, fine.
No, the others, the nice C word, the cute, happened earlier. But yeah, he began our marriage with a lot of flattery in terms of my physical appearance, body, etc. And one of the questions he first posed was, have you ever considered modeling? It was, you're so pretty, blah, blah, blah.
That's one of the oldest lines in the book.
That's a Malone line.
It's a Malone line. You could be one of the... Never mind. No,
you know what? He does look familiar.
Yeah, I'll bet he did. All right. Well, so he wanted you to do what? Private modeling for him as a bikini model?
When he asked me that question and sparked my interest in modeling, it was never something that I had considered myself to be. Okay. But he started a bikini motorcycle website.
It was purely
it was
Biker Babes.
Yeah, Biker Babe website.
So you were a Biker Babe.
Yeah.
There are people out there listening, Melissa, who are saying, "Now wait a minute, this lady was an intelligent woman, law degree, etc., etc." How did she fall for this? That's what that's the question people
Didn't you ever Google him?
No, and to be honest, had I Googled him at that time, it would not have shown up. He had been, up to our marriage, he had been very intelligent enough not to involve himself in the criminal justice system or anything
How about the military
nefarious
part of
that got caught.
He told you he was like, he was a thrilling Navy SEAL.
Military fraud wouldn't necessarily pop up on Google unless somebody had already had a military record search done on him. He had been on the wall of shame at the prisoner of war website.
Even if the guy really was a Navy SEAL, it would take him a couple of years to convince. Because I would say, get underwater and hold your breath for. When people tell me that kind of stuff, I'm just naturally skeptical.
He really played that up. I mean, he really wanted you to believe that he was
as far as I know,
and he was a SEAL, and he had helped, and he had been had a thrilling life up until then.
Yes, and
what the hell's wrong with somebody who would do that?
Oh, we all exaggerate our credentials.
Well, even though he was somewhat exposed on the MySpace site last year, he still does perpetuate the military myth, as far as I know, in the bars where he works.
Okay.
But the bikini website, that started, I got involved in that because it seemed like a fun way to exercise a playful, sexy side of myself. It was a perfect balance for my intellectual, legal side, and I really didn't see anything inconsistent about a woman being beautiful and intelligent.
Did he abuse you in that process?
What made that website become a dysfunctional process was it became a method of control. And yes, John, that's exactly what it spiraled into. It became a mechanism by which he tried to control my appearance. And it started with little things, and that's what I'm hoping to get across here, because these things start really slow. It does not happen all at once.
How long were you married to him?
3 years. No kids of our own. I did have a couple stepchildren at the time.
All right.
And unfortunately,
were they with you?
They were my stepkids, his biological children.
Right.
And unfortunately, they were witness to some of the verbal assaults. And as much as I hate to say it, my poor former stepdaughter was witness to one of the more horrific acts of animal cruelty that he perpetrated as well.
What was that?
I have to be careful. If there are kids listening, you might want to take them out of the room. But one morning, in a fit of rage, he picked up our eldest pet cat, snapped its neck, and then threw it outside like a piece of garbage. Mind you, this was done in front of his 9-year-old daughter.
What did you do? Like, did you pack up everybody and leave the house right then, or?
That was the first major red flag that
that's more
catapulted me.
Yeah, that's not a red flag. That's like, come on, I'm gone.
Yes. That catapulted me into leaving. We had one more major confrontation after that, and that was it.
Because there's no explaining that away. Like, I'm so sorry.
I just got really upset.
I'm gone. You're out of my life. Get away from me.
Yep.
So how much longer after that was it before you left?
It involved some safety planning on my part. It was a couple months.
Okay. Now, where is he today? Is he still here?
It's Stark County, same county he was, living where we...
Do you think he still goes to the internet?
Oh, I'm sure he does. He maintains, as far as I know, he maintains a MySpace profile and such, so I know he goes online.
Have you heard from him since the book came out?
No.
No. Okay. Why did you put a book out? Why did you do this? You really did it to help other people?
Me. Yes, I did.
Or yourself?
Because it became apparent to me that many women and even a couple of guys had fallen prey to the whole online dating fraud crap, and it's so easy, I think, for people to fall into this. And this is an unfortunate illustration of the fact that this can happen to anybody. It doesn't have to have anything to do with academic intelligence. When it comes to matters of the heart, then lots of us let our guard down. Many guys do too.
You're not afraid of him today?
No, okay. I'm not.
All right.
It's interesting because most of us would say, you're a great-looking lady. You've got a mind. You're a lawyer. You're successful. You're not somebody who would be taken in by this type of scam. But obviously, it can happen to anybody.
It happens to attorneys every day.
Yeah. No, I had an interesting discussion about that very point.
Right now.
Because
someone's sitting home writing a book, I'm sure.
Somebody driving into the office road.
I'm sorry, Melissa.
I had a very interesting discussion about that point a couple weeks ago, because there was another woman who had fallen into a situation online, and she was a degreed professional as well. And we were talking about this phenomenon that I think many of the women who are academically trained, it's not that we are stupid per se, but when you learn to operate in the academic framework of linear thinking and such, sometimes you don't cultivate that part of your psyche that encourages street smart.
You want something bad enough that you're willing to, you just wouldn't happen to me. I'm going to get, do you trust people generally? Before this, did you generally trust people?
Yes.
Okay. Do you now?
Not as much.
Okay.
I really have tried to cultivate my instinct.
Okay, good. All right, well, you're engaged and things are better. You've got an interesting book out, and I'm sure your life will be fine. You deserve it, quite frankly. And,
thank you.
For somebody like that to be around, it's sad, but those people exist.
Well, the unfortunate thing, too, you have real decent people like the mayor that was just on before me. Good people who have really served the country, and then you got clowns like this who use their phony background even as an excuse for abuse.
Okay. I can't see Tom O'Grady walking up there going, "Hi, Bridget."
I can't either. Yeah. All right. Thanks. It's good to have you here. The book's available everywhere, right?
Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. If people don't see it in their store, they can ask. Also, the shop Goddess Blessed in Lakewood. The
shop what?
Goddess Blessed in Lakewood.
Goddess Blessed.
That's correct.
In Lakewood. All right. It's good to talk to you this morning.